Stuart, welcome back to me, welcome back to Thailand. Tubutai here in Thailand. It's 1 Jan, which is Monday here in Thailand, and it's about 9:30 here in Thailand. Sun's up, 30 degrees again. For instance, I actually looked at the weather forecast for last night, for instance, because we're going to the beach today. They're paying the asses off today. Got 2 days off, so let's see how this works. Anyway, but she wants to go to the beach. We're going to go as soon as I finish what I'm doing. She's just lying down and doing nada, as usual. But we looked yesterday, for instance, so it was supposed to be cloudy all the way up to, and maybe a spot of rain all the way up to 12 o'clock. Anyway, so I woke up this morning, guess what? Boom, beautiful blue sky, so that's just the way it is. Just Thailand, welcome, and honestly, the rain doesn't stand a chance. Every so often it wins, but regardless. And again, we're in our rainy season, so our low season, our rainy season, the low season is supposed to be the low season, but it's not. To me, I get the impression that it's there's quite a few Falang hanging around, foreigners, tourists. A lot of Indians, but other than that, it's enough people. So still enough people riding around stupidly on motorbikes, getting themselves killed. Mad, crazy. One life. Look after it, guys. I hope you're doing well. So, for instance, let's get into it. So, a few things. Just watch the Rags getting 2-2 draw with Everton, and it just shows you where they are at the moment, because you've got the Rags, Everton, West Ham. Was it Bournemouth and Brighton? No, Bournemouth, whatever, where they play. That's their level now, for instance. Where you've got Newcastle and Spurs, for instance, where we're in Asia. But, and United, honestly, I was listening to the commentator, for instance, the co-commentator, and Mabermo, who played half decent, etc., for instance, telling him, oh, this is the way United are playing now, this is United 2.0, United are, for instance, they used to score, and then they used to, after they got their penalty, but United normally sit back, etc., but now they're good to going at teams, and then Everton go and score. Oh dear me. And to see Ratface kick out, he lost the ball. It wasn't a foul, he lost the ball. He kicked out the Everton guy, for instance. Anyway, they end up 2-2 with a own goal, so, for instance. But honestly, they are such a comical club, they really are. And they still believe, they still got this thing about, the United will going to be back. There was a very interesting show I just watched between LB and Potts, for instance, Arsenal fan. They went through the top six and top, who was going to be. And, for instance, which was very interesting, and they were quite right, and also it's what I was thinking, because everybody's got Liverpool to win the Premier League. That's it. It's all done and dusted. But I'm saying, but the problem is Liverpool needed a changeover, just like what City do, a refresh of their squad, etc. And even though they've been lucky enough to keep Salah, they still need a refresh and bring in new players, because they lost Trent, unfortunately lost Jota, sorry about Jota, but they've also Nunes, it looks like he's off to Saudi, they've lost Diaz, who's gone off to Bayern, so for instance, and also they've only got 3 right backs, as Johnny says, were on typical City, for instance, they've only got 3 right backs, so centre backs. So the fact is, they are not the complete team, and they're only they have to bring in good players to replace what they've lost. But again, they still need to go out and spend and get another right back, centre back, and and they've got an aging centre back as well. So for instance, they're not actually the great at the midfield going up front. Probably good in midfield with Wirtz, but they're not actually the complete team, and they're also in transition. And this is what I saw in ESPN saying the same thing. How is it all going to blend? Now they are the reigning champions, you'd say. Hate not saying that, but for instance, it doesn't mean to say that. For instance, it's a done deal. It's a cup where everybody's saying they're odds on to win it. They should be, because they won it last season, and now they've strengthened, but they've also lost a few players. But let's see. Last year they had no pressure, no nothing. Arsenal were garbage, typical Arsenal. City just fell off with injuries, etc. And not doing a rebuild, etc. For instance, and bringing in new players, and players just, Kevin De Bruyne, we had so many issues, and that's it. It wasn't just the one thing; it was about 10 things. So, but Man City have I think they've gone a lot stronger. Again, defence is probably about the weakest part, but again, let's see, and again. And again, for instance, as I'm going talking about, the goalkeeping situation still not been sorted out, cleared up, as it were, for instance. So there's still issues at City, for instance, but still I think we're in a better position than we were last season, without a shadow of a doubt. But the transitions is always going to be an issue for me, and it's how we cope with that. And even though we get another right back, who knows? So, but there's a few things, etc., which has come to light, which I'm going to read about, which I'll tell you about, which is kind of highlight exactly what's in my mind, and about the City's the season coming up, which is basically we got next week is the Sicily trip, and the week, and then in the middle of that, which is Tuesday, we got the City Open Day on the 5th. The Chorley game. Is that happening? I don't know. It's 7:45, and then on Tuesday, for instance, and then we've got the start of the season the week after. So it's 2 weeks before the start of the season. But I do believe we're in a very good spot. And still the transfer window is open, and even though majority of the people are saying Man City will not buy any of the transfer window, I think if a right back or something comes along, or the goalkeeping situation doesn't get sorted out, that there is. That we will probably buy it will not be over for us. So, but there's still a lot of things, and also who's going out on loan. There's a question on Echeverry, so he's going, who's going to Lyon, that's not been addressed yet. So there's still a lot of things before the transfer window closed in the beginning of September. Reijnders said he was persuaded to join Manchester City because of Pep Guardiola's style of play reminds me of his famous Netherlands icon Johan Cruyff. To me, I think this guy is going to be the player of the season. He really is. When you play at the academy in Holland, you'll quickly learn how important possession is in the game, and passing of movement, and how important the tactics are, he told City Club Media. The most Dutch players have that ingrained with them because they have learned it at such an early age. So, for instance, there you go. So, because Pep Guardiola's getting ripped over the coals at the moment because of our passing and moving and blah blah blah, and our it's boring football. But again, this is what's worked, and it does work if you get it right. And Man City have got it right so many times. As Johan Cruyff, he was one of the best, greatest players the country has ever produced, and what he left behind, you can still see on football pitch, and you can still stay there at Manchester City. Reijnders spent his career at Dutch football, blah blah blah. I've always dreamed of this, fulfilling his childhood hopes of playing in the Premier League. I always dreamed of this, and I think it was always on a Sunday morning when I saw the Premier League highlights on TV. He said, I obviously had lots of interest in Dutch players who were over here. Robin van Persie, Dennis Bergkamp in particular, they were sorted out. Now being here at City and soon playing in the Premier League is genuinely a dream come true, says Reijnders. So yeah, it's I think this guy is going to be an absolute baller, as what the kids would say. I think he's going to be superb. Right, okay, so let's have a quick look of some of the interesting. I don't know what to start with. Let's have a quick chat about Jack Grealish. Now, it appears that, for instance, there was a bit of a talk, and we saw PeP at the Oasis concert, and he would look absolutely amazing. Now, cut off jeans, City retro Colin Bell shirt on. What's it called? Letting loose at Oasis, Manchester. He just looks a proper man, etc. He looked absolutely superb, and I was really, really proud when I see my manager doing that. And it just gives me so much confidence. It makes me so much love how he's adopted his Manchester roots, etc. For instance, and doing what he did and everything. Now, Jack Grealish was there, and Jack Grealish was talking to a couple of Man City fans, and he was had a few drinks like Jack, and no worries, it's allowed. And but he also mentioned about the fact that he was interested in we love Manchester City and he would love to stay at Man City. Now there's reports saying that him and PeP had a chat about it, and the fact that Pep's kind of like said, okay, we'll give you another chance. Now, I'm not so sure about that, and regardless, I'm sure there's a lot of love between them both, etc. But again, for instance, I think it'll be more than, I think Pep Guardiola, yes, he is the architect, etc., and he's part of the three, as it were, of the transition of which way Man City go. He is the manager, but I also believe that people, the likes of Hugo Viana and other people like Tiki, for instance, on Ferran, also have a say on Jack Grealish's future. And I do believe, for instance, it's been even though Pep Guardiola probably maybe has the last say, who knows, but I don't believe it's so entirely up to Pep. And I think, for instance, I expect Jack Grealish to go on loan toward the end of the transfer window. Everton probably been more likely, but you never know. But for instance, if somebody can pick him up for free, or even will pay alongside Man City, pay half his salary, etc. But there's a talk about him staying part of City. Now, when we did the homegrown situation, there was issues with where I thought we were okay on the homegrown things as far as the players are concerned, but the homegrown players and not to the non-homegrown. So having Jack Grealish in, but I just don't see it. I really don't. I think, for instance, we kind of moved on from Jack. I really do. He can play a part. He can do a few things, but I just feel like we've just moved on from him. And unless he comes, and I've seen, you see clips of Man City on Instagram, etc. And there was one where him and Kevin De Bruyne and Riyad Mahrez linked up to score, and to Sergio Aguero, and it was a fantastic. He went from Edison to Riyad Mahrez to Kevin De Bruyne, Kevin De Bruyne, Jack Grealish. And for instance, he crossed it over to Sergio Aguero to score, and it was just for instance, was it Mahrez to score? But it was just a fantastic play, and if you can see that Jack, then that's good. But the fact is, if I get to see Jack Grealish is fantastic at the moment. What I love about Jack Grealish at the moment is the fact that when he gets the ball, he can hold it up, right? And he can hold it up, and he can buy you a foul, etc., take it upfield. Right, that's good. But at the moment, etc., I need more from Jack Grealish. So I need more from just doing the one thing. So, for instance, he needs to come along, when he gets the ball, he needs to attack it, and he needs to get down to that byline. He needs to attack it, and can't just do any flicks and tricks and shit like that. And also shoot. And any sideway passes, things like that, that is going to just grate on me, because quite honestly, for instance, that's not what, and people saying, that's where Pep's been told how to play. Not sure, I am not sure, again, for instance, but a possession is one thing, being submissive in your football is not. So I'm not so sure, so I'm not buying this one. I'm sure they had a conversation, but I'm not so sure, for instance, with the way, unless he's showing something different, the Jack Grealish what we saw in the treble year, back in training, etc. But at the moment, etc., I still believe he's going to go out on loan. But again, we'll see. This chat about Claudio Echeverri, about where he's going to stay. For instance, it looks like his agent wants him to play in the Champions League, but for instance, he also wants him to go. Maybe he was going to go out on loan to AC Milan. Man City want to keep him in the CFG at Girona, so that is up in the air of actually where he's going to go. So it's a strange one. But so that's not done and dusted. I think he needs it for his development to go out on loan. I think CFG Girona will be perfect for him with Sverian and Reese, etc. And then and it can come back, for instance. But I think pushing a player too fast can have an adverse effect. And I just do think, he's not. I don't think he's shown glimpse, but I need more from him, and this season, etc. We need players. For instance, we need to get back our Premier League title. So we don't need a player, for instance, who's in transition, who's been blooded in. If we were part of the treble year and the season, blah blah blah, But if, for instance, I think we need to establish players who's going to come in and hit the ground running straight away. So going out on loan, even though he's got the talent, like Sverre Nypan, like Reese, etc., it's good for their development, and then they can come back and smash it at some point in the future. but not now at the moment. Right, the story about what's it called? Edison is not going away, and there was people were talking about, well, nobody's in for Ortega at the moment, apart from the Rags, but they've done a rumour for that's not happening. But it appears that, for instance, even though the British media have come out and said Edison's going nowhere, and even though, for instance, in the Club World Cup he said 99% of it's all bullshit and I'm not going anywhere, it appears that, for instance, the Galatasaray and all the other media, for instance, haven't shut up about it. And there was a City said Edison's not going anywhere unless a big transfer comes in for him. Now, I don't know. For instance, I'm still uncertain whether he's going to start. That's the reason why I put a question mark on my thumbnail, because I'm still not 100% whether he's going to be. I expect him to be Man City's number one, and James Trafford will be his understudy with Ortega leaving. But again, for instance, this is not signed, sealed, and delivered at the moment. And what's happening? And again, there's too many. Will he go if we get a big enough offer? What is a big enough offer? How much is it? Is it going to be 20 plus million, or is it going to be cheap? Are Galatasaray, what's it called, are doing? Because the Turkish are still believing he's going, so they're going there. But I really don't know. So I'm really I'm still not sold on, for instance, our goalkeepers at the end of the summer. That was Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker. Well, as I said, I put the question to a couple of days ago about Kyle Walker. For instance, would you have Kyle Walker back? For instance, rather than have Nunes or Lewis in our Kuzinov as our right winger. And is it Kyle Walker better than them at the moment? I think that could spark debate. For instance, I don't know. But Stuart Pearce has opened his gob. And Stuart Pearce, being an ex-Manchester City manager, and for instance is also English, and Kyle Walker being English, is kind of jumped into the debate, talked about how the fact that I thought he'd been treated badly by Man City, and Man City were wrong to let him go. But Stuart, listen, I understand that, and you'll go into talk bollocks, etc., and say things like that, and slag off Man City, because I've heard this before, but it's all right saying that. But he wanted to go, and he wanted to go because, again, for instance, he got a lot of slander from the City fans. Again, one of them, coming back to Edison for a second, the reason why this Edison still has a question mark, because his wife got absolutely got slagged off by her husband. When Edison said he's going to stay at Man City, that was before the Wired game. So, for instance, and then since then, has he changed his mind? As his wife said, listen, I'm sick and tired of this now. So, but who knows? I know she was in town, etc. What's go during the summer holidays? During the summer break. But again, so with Kyle Walker, for instance, it's all right saying, he was surprised how Man City let him go. It was his choice. He went over Pep Guardiola's head to Tiki and said, listen, I want to go. So, and mainly because, for instance, I think it was an away game where he got absolutely slated. So Man City manager believes that his old club have made a mistake for letting go of last season's club captain as their long-standing first choice centre right back in the summer. The beauty of Kyle Walker is that you're doing a direct comparison. Kyle could defend on blah blah blah. Okay, and they were talking about replacements. T-Bill Limited is not good enough going forward. I'm not sure defensively. He's also got the nouns of Kyle Walker. So he's definitely in the Kyle Walker court. I worked with Kyle as a young man. He's mature. He got better and better and understood the game as he got older. Livramento and Daniel Munoz are not, for me, out and out top quality defensive right backs that can offer something going forward as well, like Kyle Walker did. It's difficult to replace someone like Kyle Walker. Pearce insists that he would have retained the service of Kyle Walker for as longer than City did, and continues I've held on to Carl for at least hold on to Carl for at least another year. Yeah. So, but it wasn't Man City's choice. It was his choice, but because he was singled out by a lot of City fans and a lot of criticism. So he had enough. Because he was persuaded by he wanted to go to Munchen. He was persuaded by Pep Guardiola to stay. He did the "I'm not leaving" what's it called video. What's it called? Everybody was yeah whatever. And then, but he had a shocker. But he was not the only one. But he was singled out. So, for instance, and this is the thing: some City fans need to really shut your gobs and stop being so entitled. And if City are not doing well, then, for instance, all right, fine, but don't go and slate the players, because again, we might just lose a goalkeeper and we've lost our defender. So, and maybe it was all right, and Jack Grealish, etc. So some City fans need to shut up about it. And okay, so the last one I want to talk about is the last thing I want to talk about is there was the Djokovic. Yeah, I've spent a couple of minutes on this. Djokovic has revealed how Manchester City complicated the Arsenal strikers to transfer to Arsenal. And it appears that everything was supposed to be all lovely and sweet with Hugo Viana leaving to transition over to Man City, but it appears that was not the case. And it appears that Man City have appeared to indirectly complicated matters concerning Victor Djokovic, and now completing his transfer from Sporting to Arsenal. And it appeared the Gunners eventually secured the long-term centre-forward target this summer, but not without complications on the way, according to players' agents, were avoidable. Okay, Djokovic has been a subject to strong Premier League interest even before the end of the season, with goal scoring, blah blah blah. Okay, yet with internal changes at Sporting triggered by Manchester City, presumed the Sporting director following Tiki's leaving, altered the dynamic of the transfer that had seemingly already been agreed in principle. Yet a formula announced by Hugo Viana as their Sporting director towards the end of 2024. So it appears that Juventus, where it is, right? Speaking with the Swedish journalist WTW and relayed by the Mirror, Jonathan Katja and representatives of Vicky Djokovic had detailed how City's appointment of Hugo Viana had and their new Sporting director has caused problems in negotiations of the striker down the line. It was a mess. There was a gentleman's agreement with the previous Sporting director, Hugo Viana, where it was done, but everything was written and we didn't have time to start legal battles. He said. He continued, I don't understand how a player who scored so many goals and won 3 matches didn't deserve so much more respect than he got. Yeah, so, but so while Djokovic didn't criticise Manchester City directly, the anecdotes underlying the ripple effect of the Premier League giants' internal changes this summer. So, well, you've got the player, so stop moaning. He's gone to Arsenal, so we'll see how he goes on and see how Arsenal catch on. But as if he doesn't score, then it's all down to Arteta and see what Arsenal do. But it's going to be interesting. But again, so interesting stories there. And again, for instance, still a lot of questions, a lot to be asked, answered, for instance, about City. But again, for instance, we've got a couple of weeks before the start of the season, still got a month before the end of the transfer window. Here's take a few days, but so we'll see what happens. Anyway, guys, gonna love you and leave you. True Blue Tie from Thailand. Like and subscribe. Tell me what you think. Are you, for instance, just tell me what you think, and if you want to ask a question about Dylan and the worry and the fighting, etc., and what's going on, but you're more than welcome to ask me those questions as well. Guys, love you, leave you. True Blue Tie from Thailand. I'm off to the beach.